thinking about it, I'm going to turn over one of our partners is NSPRA, the School Public Relations Officials, and we've collaboratively been working on this project. And I'm going to turn it over to my friend Barbara Hunter, who is my counterpart at NSPRA. She called me back in March and said, you know, what are you hearing, and is your board and leadership concerned about the way that school districts are dealing with social media? We know that school districts use social media to get out their message to parents and families and the community. But do they have a way to make sure that there aren't fake accounts and that they're verified? And also just the problem of managing really inappropriate, unsafe messages. So we brought that to the CoSN board. Barbara brought it to her board, and we decided that there needed to be a lot of work. So I'm going to turn it over to Barbara. Maybe you want to give a welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Barbara Hunter. As Keith mentioned, I'm Executive Director of the National School Public Relations Association. Our members, we have more than 2,500 members in throughout the United States and Canada, and primarily they are the chief communication officers in their districts. They oversee crisis communications. They do websites, social media, publications, you name it, community engagement, you name it. You know them well if you have one in your district. And if you don't have one in your district, you need one. But I was just so excited how this, Keith teed this up beautifully. This concern came to me from one of my board members, actually, about a year ago, who said, as a one-person shop in a small district in Missouri, she was spending an inordinate amount of time chasing down these rogue accounts that were popping up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, some of their social media platforms. And some are just annoying, but some really can do significant harm to kids in terms of bullying, posting very inappropriate things, taking videos of kids unknowingly and posting those, assuming false identities such as building principal and, sharing a lot of misinformation and disinformation and creating a lot of chaos. And if you're a soup, this is something that you're probably very familiar with in terms of the amount of time that your staff is running these accounts down. So as Keith said, I turned to him first because I thought what a perfect partnership between the school PR folks and chief technology officers. And then sure enough, we had 12 more associations join on, including AASA, because they believe that this was such an important topic too. So thrilled that we, Keith and I, CoSN and NSPRA, were able to lead this charge forward, and which we still are, because this is a work in progress, as you're going to hear. So the first step in combating all this is really to have school districts be able to be verified. And then if they can be verified as the official account, then these other rogue accounts would be able to be what you would think easily removed. However, that's not always the case. So we're going to dig into this report a little bit. And then not only do we need a way, school districts need a way to become verified and report these accounts, they also need more support from these platforms to remove these accounts quickly before a lot of damage gets done. So here's our project timeline. As you can see, I kind of already talked about what happened in the spring, and then in last spring, May and June, we decided we really needed to, we had a lot of anecdotal information about this problem, but we really needed some data to support what was actually taking place. So we surveyed CoSN members and NSPRA members about their realities in dealing with this, and we'll dig into the survey results here in a minute. And then once we had that data, really as a foundation, and really were able to frame the issue for our social media companies, and we identified 6 to target. We issued a joint letter of concern to them. And I would also say we spent a great deal of time over the summer reaching out, having one-on-one conversations with each of the social media companies. It's really interesting because sometimes they're really hard to find. Really hard to find who the contact is in these companies, who can provide some leverage and support for this kind of an issue. And we told them that we were going to issue a report card on their progress. And I will tell you, and I know Keith is going to get into this in a bit, many of these companies were not even aware that this was a problem. So I think we did a great job in just raising the awareness level on of them. And we know we have a lot of more work to do. And then in September, we took all this great data and research and a lot of wonderful other pieces of information and created a report, issued that, and we're going to dig into that report here shortly. So a few survey findings, and I don't really want to read this PowerPoint slide to you, but the top 3 platforms that most districts use for their official communications are Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And you probably aligns with your practices as well. Some districts are wandering into Instagram. Many of them don't use LinkedIn except for recruiting. And so some of them may use TikTok, but not normally. So what we found is 25% indicated that within the last 2 years, their ed organizations have applied to be verified on social media and have been rejected. Now, raise your hand, put a little hand in the chat or on your screen if you find yourselves, your district, among this 25%. Why are these districts rejected from being verified? Well, the explanation generally is that school district accounts were not notable enough. Okay, so that may relate to their enrollment, their number of students. It may relate to whether they're an influencer. It may relate to just the amount of content. But this is a real problem. For each individual social media platform, generally 1/3 or fewer respondents indicated that they were able to get their organization verified. Susan, Melissa Brand will probably have an answer to your question. Is there a cost for verification? So we'll hold on to that question. And then also respondents indicated that among their districts, these were districts who responded to the survey, more than half have dealt with accounts that harass, intimidate, or bully. More than half have dealt with mock accounts appearing with their district's logo or branding. And almost half, 45%, have dealt with social media platforms not removing reported accounts posts that really harmed their students. In fact, what we heard that when districts do report these accounts, these rogue and harmful accounts, they're more often not removed than removed by the platform. So that's really not what we want to see out of social media companies. And as well as you've heard Seattle Public Schools just filed a lawsuit that said, this social media companies are really impacting kids' mental health. And indeed, it has huge potential to impact kids' mental health. So this is a really serious issue. Okay, next slide. All right, so we put together a report. It lives on both of our websites, on the NSPRA website as well as the CoSN's website. And this is a great place to really dig into the report and the survey findings. And we also have on there the report card for each platform. So what they're doing or what they're not doing to address this issue. And then we have some general tips on there for easier verification and reporting that you may want to consider using if you're struggling with this issue. So we have some videos on there as well, some news clips from the media coverage that we've received as a result of our survey release, as well as some interviews that we've done. So I invite you to take a look at the full report. And with that, I'm going to toss it to Keith, who's going to talk about the report cards.
Sure. You can see here that basically, in terms of do you verify official school district social media accounts, the answer was no, kind of across the board. But one company, Twitter, indicated last summer that they were willing to work with us, NSPRA and CoSN, to create one. We're hoping to use them as a poster child. We have indicated to our members and NSPRA members that if they give us their Twitter account, we will submit it. We have several 600 or so school district official accounts waiting for Twitter to verify that. But the point that we made to all these social media companies was every single one of education institutions has an NCES number. It isn't that hard to verify. So that's the process that we're hoping to get these social media platforms to do. Next.
And I can just add to that, Keith, because some of you may have folks who are kind of waiting to hear from us. Did they get verified? We had submitted a whole big batch to our Twitter contacts. And then the whole new leadership at Twitter topic happened. And there were a lot of staffing changes at Twitter, as everybody's probably heard about. And while our contact is still at Twitter, it has thrown a wrench in some of their processes. So we have been told repeatedly, yes, we're still planning on doing this for you. School districts will be eligible for the free gray check marks that governments are eligible for. And our batch is with them kind of in the queue to be done. It has not been done yet, but so we're still holding out hope.
And Twitter, right, Melissa, is charging for companies and other entities to.
For Twitter Blue, for the blue check mark for companies, there's a fee, but not for the gray check marks that school districts would be eligible for in governments. Those are free.
Great. We hope that that gets off the ground so that we can press the other companies. The other area, and Melissa, do you want to explain the second and third kind of?
Yeah, sure. So, the other questions we had for the platforms was related to dedicated reporting process for school systems, whether it was an account that was pretending to represent a district. Maybe they were using the district's logo or, using the superintendent's name. And so it was a fraudulent account. And also dedicated reporting processes related to bullying, harassment, targeting of students in particular, although I know some staff experience this as well. And, we were trying to build their awareness and also get a handle on, does anybody have anything specific for school systems? The short answer was no, none of them do. So right now, your schools have to follow the same reporting process as all other consumers, the millions and billions of users on these different platforms. And that is the challenge when you're trying to elevate something that potentially could be a safety issue that's leading to conflicts in the classroom. And our hope is if we can get verification first, when we report something, it will help with the elevation of that report because it's coming from a verified account. So these concepts are linked, but none of them have a dedicated process. So we're continuing to work on that one as well in our advocacy.
And Melissa, YouTube has indicated a willingness to consider it, right?
Yeah, and YouTube is a little bit different because it's a little bit harder on YouTube to misrepresent who you are. And so when we reached out through our surveys and our contacts with membership, we didn't get a lot of feedback on specific fraudulent accounts related to YouTube. it's more so happening on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But YouTube has indicated willingness to kind of talk with us through, what kind of measures could they implement that would help K-12. So we're talking with them as well. So I just wanted to spotlight a little bit, as Barb mentioned earlier, this is an ongoing advocacy effort. Just like, social media platforms, there's a new one every other month, it seems. These issues remain. We've been doing a lot of work with news media, doing news releases, talking to various publications, both within education and outside of education about this topic, having articles published in some of the our partner associations publications. You might have come across some of them, and we've got more planned in the future. Also, talking about this issue at different conferences and webinars. We were invited to attend Meta's summit on teen safety last month. There were a lot of association leaders at this summit, and it was an opportunity for us to learn a little bit about the measures that Meta, Facebook, and Instagram have taken to support student safety, and hopefully share that information back with our stakeholders. But also just additional opportunities for us to be in front of them and to share the message of the importance of connecting with K-12 schools. Barb and Keith, do you want to add anything else to that? Other appearances we've been making?
No, I think you covered it well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we have more efforts planned. As I mentioned earlier, we've got that batch verification process hanging out with Twitter. Our sort of educational programming folks have been working particularly with the Twitter contact and a LinkedIn contact about getting some webinars together so we can provide some more education to CoSN and NSPRA members around using those platforms. We're going to be doing a panel discussion at the CoSN conference in March on how schools and social media can work together. I'm hoping to have a couple different platforms. I can tell you TikTok has agreed to be there. I imagine it's because TikTok is in the news quite a lot right now. And I've got, a couple other panelists lined up, and I'm hoping to get a couple more platforms. And we're continuing to have those conversations, reaching out to them about, can we set up some more time to talk? And then next summer at NSPRA's conference, we'd like to have a companion panel discussion more focused on engagement and how platforms could be used by schools to increase engagement with our families, with our community, with our staff, and hoping to get some of the social media folks back there with us as well. So I think that was the overview of the project. And next we were hoping to have an opportunity for everyone to talk a little bit about your experiences with these issues.